Hi, I'm Kira, and I'm so excited to share all of my favorite places in Japan with you. I've so far traveled to 17 prefectures, lived in 4 different cities, and worked all kinds of jobs all over Japan. Because I've experienced life in the city, in the residential areas, and in the countryside, I've discovered what I love and what I don't necessarily love about various regions in Japan. I'm making this video for anyone traveling or moving to Japan and trying to decide where might suit them best. I want to mention that I saw this thread while I was editing this video, and this person's basically talking about how people romanticize working and living in Japan, and maybe the influencers talking about it are being disingenuous. And I can't say the same for everyone, but I'm here to share my story on the reality of life here in Japan. To start with, the city. Somehow, in the most populous city in the world, you feel the most isolated. My experience in Tokyo was quite positive compared to a lot of things I hear from friends who tried living there. I went to a lot of events, made a lot of friends, worked an internship with a somewhat international company, and my schedule was quite relaxed compared to typical Japanese companies. I got a sweet deal living in Ikebukuro, so I had a pretty prime location and I only rented for 1 month. Tokyo is the best place in the world if you want to spend your money. There's so many activities, things to buy, you'll want to dress better, and even though it might not be expensive for tourists, for anyone living that kind of lifestyle every day, it can become financially unsustainable. Some of the best experiences I've had in Japan have been in Tokyo. Every day was packed with people, and there's so many events and experiences to have, so there's never really much time to zone out or completely relax. I guess that's the vibe in most cities, and the endless opportunities comes with a need to improve time management skills. I don't necessarily agree with the sentiment that Tokyo is unfriendly, even though I've heard this so much from many people. Perhaps there are some places in Tokyo that are more sterile and unfriendly than others, where people there just work to live, and they're really exhausted, so there's not much time for joyful, leisurely activities. For most, your life is just eating, working, and sleeping, which is quite the difference compared to tourists visiting Tokyo on holiday. People seem to take out their need for entertainment in the nightlife industry, and seeing Shibuya Meltdown was quite striking to me when I first saw it. And at the same time, it was very understandable after an exhausting and seemingly endless cycle of work. I'm giving a pretty broad scope of everything that encompasses Tokyo. I have to say that after traveling to 37 countries in the world, Tokyo is by far the cleanest, safest, most fun and enjoyable city I've ever been to, and the abundance of good food is unreal. I also found many pockets of nature within Tokyo, so I never felt truly stuck in the city. There's something here for everyone, unless you value serenity and a laid-back lifestyle. In that case, it leads me to the residential areas of Japan. Most places in Japan are connected by elaborate train systems, but a lot of Japan still needs to be connected via cars. And when you go into the smaller towns of Japan that aren't so well connected, you will find that people live ordinary, stable, family-oriented, busy lives, but with a little more room to explore and do events. This is the kind of place people go once they start having kids, and the lifestyle remains very busy, but the people living in residential areas seem to take the time to enjoy nature and their surroundings. The residential area is all about work-life balance. I worked as an au pair taking care of a 4-year-old boy for a couple weeks, and that's when I truly lived a domesticated Japanese lifestyle living in a family's apartment. I also worked a part-time job as a culinary artist, making beautiful ice cream bouquets at a shop in Kyoto. I would have a lot of home-cooked meals, visit various festivals throughout the seasons, and I would learn all about the systems for taking care of an apartment, such as the meticulous detail to throwing out the trash and cleaning shower heads. There's a very specific way to clean the bathroom. Because I learned these skills, I feel way more capable of keeping my space clean, and I've noticed I've become a more tidy person since moving to Japan. When I was working at the ice cream shop, I noticed how everyone worked so hard, even though they were paid minimum wage. People tend to go the extra mile no matter what job they're doing, and it's because society and they hold themselves to higher standards. It made me develop a deep admiration for the care that people put into their work. The quality of work seems to be derived from taking pride in a job well done, and the attention to detail and the care people put into their work is very visible across every place in Japan. I had plenty of time to explore Kyoto, and being in this region was extremely serene, abundantly beautiful, and I could leisurely ride my bike or take buses to any place I wanted, and I would spend afternoons exploring shrines I've never been to. I loved the balance of my work and my lifestyle, but I know I got more time off than most families. There is still a sense of limited time for families to truly relax together. But I really appreciated the ability to work and the ability to enjoy nature, the culture, and the history of the area whenever I had time off. The countryside. I have had the most fabulous, enlightening, enriching, positive experience in the countryside of Japan. When I was doing a road trip from Shizuoka to Hokkaido, I would stop at various small cities along the way. The nature, the people, and the things I did on that road trip were unforgettable, and it felt like life was a movie. I spent a lot of time in Furano and Bie, where I spent my days wandering through flower fields and mountains. And although there was a lack of people, the people I met there were some of the funniest, most outgoing, kind people I've ever met. Perhaps it's because they're so secluded, but the way they treat people with delighted enthusiasm could warm anyone's heart. I feel continuously drawn to experience life in the countryside because the people seem to live such sweet, happy, fulfilled lives here, without distractions or a sense of busyness. I will first talk about my experience on Ojika Island in Nagasaki. It's basically an hour away by ferry from Sasebo, but Ojika Island is a gem in Japan. I found this work opportunity on workaway.com, and the job description was to work at a traditional Japanese bed and breakfast, a ryokan, and a karaoke bar. When I got to the island, I quickly learned that only 2,000 people lived there, and there were hardly any English speakers across the whole island. When I arrived at the share house that I would be living at, 4 girls from all over the world were there, and they warmly greeted me and explained the island situation. These were some of the coolest girls I've ever met, and we spent our days at the beach, going on bike rides every day, and trying new snacks from the local konbinis. I became so close with my boss, and his mother, who owned the adjacent karaoke bar, invited me to work there, even though I had really limited Japanese language skills. None of the locals could speak English, but we bonded so much. Every night was filled with laughter, everyone was so humorous and sociable, and the memories that I made at Melody Box will forever be treasured by me. It almost feels like you're on another country when you visit the islands of Japan. The people you meet, the fishermen, the small business owners, all seem to have found meaning and joy in their lives, and they warmly welcome any visitors to their island. Some of my most fond experiences were competing in a dragon boat race, where we famously came second. We barely beat the kids. And even though we did terribly, we won the humor award because we made everyone laugh, so we got a case of beer and a certificate. I also participated in a local fishing competition, and on my second try, accidentally pulled 8 fish on one line. Everyone was so shocked, and I was more shocked, and it was one of the fondest memories I've had in my life, experiencing the support of the community. I tapped into all of the local experiences, like scuba diving and joining a pottery studio. I was even interviewed for the news. I had countless laughs with my coworkers and the locals, and I learned to the finest detail the meticulous presentation and delivery of work whenever I served food or made up rooms in the ryokan. My work experience in the countryside not only showed me new skills and provided me unique experiences that I will never forget, but I learned so much about myself and human nature. And I find that my time in the most obscure places has been the most rewarding for my self-growth. To top it off, living on the island was so beautiful and historic. The water was so clean because of how pristine and preserved the natural environment is with its low population. I felt like it was a slice of heaven on earth. I've heard many people say similar things about Okinawa, which I really hope to visit someday. The culture and happiness of the countryside and rural communities of Japan is something everyone should experience. Now, I'm back in the countryside, totally immersed in a community in the mountainous region of Kita Hiroshima, near Shimane Prefecture, where ancient Japanese mythology comes from. The famous activities around here include kagura, a traditional Japanese dance, and the famous okonomiyaki. The house I'm living at is owned by my friend, who I met while couchsurfing last year, who's hosted at least 300 people here. The house is extremely special in the way it preserves the history and culture of Japan, surviving the atomic bombing of 1945. The house is still totally intact, yet as you can see, stained black from the ash fallen from the sky after the bomb and years of weathering. I'm surrounded by rice paddies, dragonflies, historic houses, and it's amazing how couchsurfers from all around the world have come here for various events and festivals in the area. Currently, I have many projects, like taking care of this house, starting my master's degree online at Johns Hopkins SAIS, making videos for YouTube, and I'm trying to start a business to utilize this property and its potential, as requested by my host. Somehow, with zero distractions out in the countryside, I'm busier than ever, and I finally have time for all the things I'm passionate about. The idea that we're constructing is centered around people wanting a career break, or people that can work remotely and want to experience the countryside of Japan. maybe even working holiday visa holders like me. Because the property is so huge, there's lots of potential for agricultural work, cultural events, and maybe an opportunity to contribute some skill or service to the local community. When couch surfers would stay here, if they played an instrument, locals would really enjoy hearing other countries' music. And it's standard that the people here won't have the same opportunity to travel to many places in the world. Therefore, by drawing international and local visitors together here, there's an opportunity to promote cultural exchange, community revitalization, and sustainability. I'm hoping this idea could model a system for populations in Japan to tackle their issue of declining population and attract people that genuinely care about cultural preservation and are eager to maintain tradition and enjoy the scenery and pace of life out in the countryside. So which vibe suits you? Do you prefer to have endless events and social activities to go to? Are you looking for a well-paying job and appreciate technology and modern architecture? Maybe you would be happiest in the city. Or do you prefer to stay a little flexible and balanced, with beautiful places to see, local events, and living somewhere sort of in the middle, where you can enjoy working full-time and exploring some pockets of peace within that lifestyle? Or is something drawing you to a life of subtle fulfillment, where you want to embrace the elements of nature, the transient beauty of the seasons, community-based activities, traditions, and local events run by unpaid volunteers whose hope is to preserve Japan's culture and history? The pace of life is slower, but the overtone of happiness stands more prominently than anywhere else in Japan. I hope this video inspires you to take a more adventurous route to your travels to Japan, and I would be so glad if my experiences could somehow benefit yours. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you would like to see next. Mata ne! See you later!